put yourself out there and have like an idea or a goal in your mind that what you want to do, you can actually make it. And it's just like that. What we talked in the first place, like just go and do it.
Yeah,
Like there's
yeah.
nothing that actually it's going to stop you other than yourself, right?
Welcome to Beyond the Drop episode 2. This week we have SimplyEto. I was excited to have Eto on the show because it really was an inspiration from one of his video tutorials that was the push I needed to begin this podcast in the first place. What's fascinating about Eto is that he is one of the most diverse creators I've came across in the drip ecosystem and is a true multidisciplinary artist. If you follow him on Drip already, you'll likely be familiar with his architectural inspired illustrative and animated artworks, which stem directly from his original studies in school. However, as you'll see throughout the episode, as somebody who comes across as perhaps a bit reserved and shy, with a dash of imposter syndrome, Eto constantly pushing the boundaries of the comfort zone and always striving to learn new things and build new relationships. Two things that, in the days of an always online environment, are or can be quite difficult. So let's get straight into it. I hope you guys enjoy listening as much as I did. One of the difficult things I found for this episode is actually I didn't know where to start with you.
Okay.
Because you're compared to other people like on Drip, for example, or just other artists, is like they might have a distinctive style to focus on.
Mhm.
Whereas yours is very disparate, I feel. Like you've got a lot of different a lot of different things that you can do and a
Yep.
lot of different types of works that you've done. So it would be great to get a little bit of insight as to kind of like, your background, what it was that drew you to art originally, and then we can get into the detail as well.
Sure. Well, I've been getting a ton of that same idea of, that people perceive me as somebody that does a lot of things and many things,
Mm.
and I am definitely trying to focus a little bit more on getting something done that people will recognize me for, and just like try to stick to it at least with a season of stuff that people will remind me, like get reminded of who I am because
Mm.
of what I do. It's hard. I think I've always been an explorer. I always enjoy uh watching something and trying to recreate it, trying to explore it a little bit more. Um and to get a little bit of my background, I actually studied architecture. I did I'm technically an architect, I finished a whole career. But it actually started with being that one of those things that your parents are like, trying to get this done because it's what pays more, or it's what there's like more work done, it was like that pressure from my parents to
Mm.
actually do that. And I was between that and digital animation, because I really like drawing, and I was very inclined to art school in school. So I always had that like dichotomy in myself that, I should have done animation, I should have done not architecture, like continue with that path. But it's just one of those things that you say, okay, I'm just gonna try and trust them and go with what they say, because they're parents, they're adults. I don't regret it either way. Like I learned so much, and as you can see, like if you've well, if you see like what I do, like mostly is architectural based, right? It's
Yeah.
spaces, it's um buildings and stuff like that. Um Continuing after while I was actually studying architecture, I started doing photography. My mother was a hobbyist photography as well at that point. And she taught me the basics, and I loved it. And that's when I started getting a lot into photography. It was like maybe when I was 20, like 19, 20 years old. And I took a course with Nat Geo photographer in New York. I went for like a week over there, and I just fell in love with what it meant to actually do photography, like to
Mm.
get close to people, because I was always like an introverted person. I was like the quiet one in school, and that kind of person that is just like there, and people didn't like see me as the the most intelligent or the one with the best grades. So I took to myself that same feeling and said, I can do this. I can do whatever I want. I want to do architecture because it's one of the hardest also careers to finish,
Mhm.
and people don't believe in me. Like in my mind, it was all these thoughts, and I was like, okay, so I'm definitely gonna do architecture just because it is what it is, right? I did research a little bit, but yeah, photography, and I did photography. But I worked like 1 year in architecture. I didn't love it. It just, it just stayed there in my mind that this is not what I actually want to do in my life. And also client work, it was just not, it was too stressful. People didn't really work well with like the monetary wise, like everybody wanted something cheaper and cheaper and cheaper, and you're always doing a ton of work, and clients, all that stress is, it was just not for me. It's
Mhm.
not the thing that I love. um and yeah, I kept doing photography for 12 years maybe, and then transitioned a little bit more into video with the rise of social media. I enjoyed this. I enjoyed like talking to the camera. I started looking at inspiration, like um some Canadian creators and stuff that I was looking at in social media with stories when the rise of stories came. And I created tons of videos, and I set myself to make, one or more videos a week, like 2 videos a week, vertical videos, then came in, and all that. And this is when I just like fell in love with all social media things. And that was for like 12 or 13 years. Then COVID came,
Mm.
and I had to stop doing photography because I wasn't able, to communicate with people to do what I do, at least in the clients that work. And that's when I started looking at crypto at one point.
Mhm.
And um I got myself an iPad as well. And I still had all that drawing likeness. I enjoyed drawing, doing stuff like, if I went on a travel trip, I always took my notebook and draw people, draw spaces, whatever. I enjoyed it, watching. But it was never something serious.
Mm.
Then I saw, Ethereum. It was like the boom, and everybody was talking about Ethereum, and I did something on my iPad. I was like, okay, I'm gonna try this. I don't know what it is exactly, but I'm gonna try it.
Yeah.
And when I saw the gas prices, and that I actually had to pay like $120 for, uploading something and not even selling it, I was like, okay, now maybe I'm gonna I'm not gonna do this, right? um and yeah, that was kind of like a year before Solana.
Mhm.
And then I was approached by some people on ArtStation because I was starting doing all these digital pieces that I just enjoyed. It wasn't something formal. I just started uploading on ArtStation, which is a platform for artists if you haven't heard of it. And yeah, I was approached by some guys like, we got this, you can earn this amount of money. And I was like, okay, cool. And, I have nothing to lose more than actually just make art, right?
Yeah.
And I did that project. I did all the art. And I actually got paid for it. And I was like, this is this is amazing, right? That's something that I'm actually enjoying, and I'm getting paid for paying for me well, right? Because I
Mhm.
didn't really understand what it was. And that was the peak of the bull run at that point. Then you know things happen, project founders, whatever. I stopped working with them. And that's when I got into one-on-one art and started to learn more about Twitter. With that project, I actually learned everything about crypto, what an airdrop is, what a whitelist is, what is, all these things that at the moment it was so new to me. I was, just diving into something that was completely different from what I knew. And you know, I kind of was like expected to know, but didn't really understand. And yeah, without that project, I started learning about Twitter, and got to actually sell a couple of pieces as a one-on-one artist. And that's when my brain shifted, and I said, I'm gonna keep doing this
Mm.
for a while. And you know, that's just like the beginning of like my Solana journey, which is um I don't know, there's a ton, you know, there's so much things that have happened,
Yeah.
especially with the low friends and
Yeah.
which is a project, an audiovisual project that kind of like boosted my like the awareness of what I did. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, kind of like that's the beginning.
Nice. Well, it's yeah, it's there's a lot to take out of that. So I think you're very, to your point, is you're very explorative with your work. But yeah, so what is it that draws you in when you get drawn into an art piece?
Okay. Most of my inspirations are actually come from anime, from watching tons of anime. I'm probably one of those persons that could dive into one anime and just like binge it, you know.
Mm,
Maybe yeah, yeah. Well, that's like one of my inspirations for when I'm watching things and I'm like saying like, oh, this could have been like a cool thing to do. Like
mhm,
this idea has just come to mind. Um, but just like something that that I would dive into that gets me inspired. I just enjoy creating spaces out of things that maybe are not real. When I say this is um, for example, when I'm looking for references, I'm looking for buildings, but I'm also looking for normal stuff that could be transformed into a space, you know, like
mm,
you know, a cup or you know, a can or um I don't know, like one of the last cats that was just like a building thing that I did lost, it's called like space cats, for example, but that was just because Jupe was on the way and all these airdrops and stuff, so that kind of like inspired a building, you know.
got you. Right.
So I guess definitely architecture is one of the biggest things for me, just because
Yeah.
has been for quite a bit of time. um and it's hard to say because I'm generally very um organized in my things and the things that I do. But for example, I also have like my abstract pieces that I'm actually trying just to like flow through them, like, you know, grab some um paint and just do whatever feels like, and just like try to get those feelings like into an art piece. And when I look at that, I say, you know, I'm always very control. I try to control the things that I do, especially when I'm doing like illustrations and stuff like that. But I also try to force myself into being more uh, lenient is the word, like not control, like not
Mm, mm.
controlling, you know,
Right. Yeah.
just like try to like get that being in that space as well, right? So because I want to explore myself
Mm.
in a way that I push myself into a place where I'm not used to.
Okay.
Um,
So you're pushing yourself out of your comfort zone quite often.
yeah, yeah. I try to do the as much as I can. For example, like the biggest example is that I'm leaving to Japan in a couple of weeks, and that for me gets me very anxious. But I'm also very excited because I only have the first 2 nights reserved. All the other nights are gonna happen while I'm there. You know, I don't want to control anything. I just want to be in a spot where I'm very uncomfortable. So I kind of like have to live day by day.
Hmm.
That's like how I try to approach things.
Yeah.
Um, and I think it's very weird for people to think that I would go in a 1 month trip without knowing where I'm going to go. but it's weird for me as well, and I like it because I know that I'm going to enjoy it, and that everything is going to be all right, you know. Sometimes I think that we as humans tend to just like go with a set track of where we want to be and where we want to go, but that's never going to be the exact same thing that's going to happen, you know. So what difference does it make if I control or try to control something, or like not control anything, right?
Mm, mm.
At the end of the day, you never know what's actually going to happen, right? So yeah, I try to like push myself into places that I know I'm gonna be uncomfortable in. Same thing with my art. Like I try to
Mm.
like just go with what the reference I see. Like, oh, this is cool. I'm gonna grab this and maybe move it over right here and do a drawing with, you know, a building that kind of like resembles this or this idea and space. And yeah, maybe I rambled a little bit too much, but
No, it's
that's like where I'm
it's
at.
it's really really interesting. And I think it makes a lot of sense just from kind of what I suppose what I've learned about you over the last, couple of weeks or so.
Mhm.
In that, I mean, your work, like you say, kind of started out very it's architecture, you got photography as well. Um, but I think one of the things the impressions I've been getting is that you want to explore like the unknown, and you
Mhm.
want to push yourself out of your comfort zone. That's definitely a theme I've been getting, like with your vlogs, more recently as well, is
Yeah.
that putting yourself in a more vulnerable position as well. Because I think until you do that, you can't really grow as a person or change, or whatever it is that you want to do. So there's usually a reason behind that.
Mhm.
But I think it's really good, and it's also I'm very excited for you for Japan.
Thank you.
Um, it's I understand why it would be anxiety inducing for sure, but
Totally.
I'm sure it'll be incredibly exciting and very fun when you're there. So I'm
Yeah,
excited to
actually,
see how that goes.
I today I actually woke up and I was thinking, you know, this is the 8th and I'm already, you know, like it's gonna be 20 days till Japan and I still have nothing nothing ready, right? But you
Yeah,
know, it's kind of like the process.
yeah,
But yeah, I think in terms of art, it's kind of like interesting to I don't know, like just like where I've been, especially because it also doesn't also translate with just art because I started learning like coding, for example, or I started learning 3D, for example, just because it's kind of like the things that interest me and
mm,
that I see, okay, this sounds like something I could actually do, and like, oh, only these people can make this kind of stuff, you know.
mm,
Um, and you look at an art piece and you say, this looks so complicated. But what if I dive into this for a week? Can I actually make something similar? And I've done it. You know, I dove into Blender and got myself into it, and I said, you know, I'm gonna make this happen. Um, and you can do it, and that's where I think that life is like so. If you hack into yourself and you just like actually um put yourself out there and have like an idea or a goal in your mind that what you want to do, you can actually make it. It's just like that what we talked in the first place, like just go and do it.
yeah,
Like there's
yeah,
nothing that actually it's going to stop you other than yourself, right?
yeah.
And that's where I
It's
try
true.
to go vulnerable, like with my vulnerability or these connection videos that I'm trying to put out there, just like the vlogs, because that's like the only way that I can actually connect with people.
Mhm,
And aside from a PFP and just like talking on Twitter, I'm not gonna get that reaction from people. I'm not gonna get emotional with people if they cannot connect in a way that it's actually me, right? Or it's actually just me talking to a camera or talking to somebody.
mhm, mhm.
At one point, I know that there's gonna be people that are gonna say, "Hey, this helped me a lot through whatever I was going through," you know,
Mm.
or just like it's very inspiring to see you here and knowing that the videos that I did, you know, were one of the things that inspired you to do this. Like this is what gets me going,
Mm. Mm.
more than just uh, do the art for the art or for the money or
Yeah.
whatever it is, right?
It's nice seeing the kind of the result of it, or to see that somebody has actually you've made a difference to what somebody's life, essentially. One of the things I did want to ask you about, just to take it in a bit of a different direction,
Sure, sure, sure.
is seem to you seem to like showcasing the process. So you seem
Hmm.
to like focusing on the process a lot, the process of the artwork, which is right up my street. I usually find the process of the artwork more interesting than the end piece. It's actually one of the things I focused on in university was that it was kind of and I didn't know it at the time actually, but it was that the process behind the artwork, and I didn't really know why.
Hmm.
But to me, that's really interesting. I just wanted to kind of ask you really. Is that
Why?
intentional? Is that something that you've thought about as you're making the work?
Totally. I think in this day and age that everything is so easy to have access in in terms of the final product. um I think that humanity, or that sense of being like human, or being the actual person that is actually making the thing at a certain point in time, is what's going, in my perspective, to differentiate the artist from the the AI artist, for example, if I want to say that like
Mm,
it bluntly. I'm not gonna say that AI art is bad or anything. It's just, or the process is different, but it's that humanity that is going to actually differentiate many artists out there, and I think it's very important. I think it's actually definitely the most important part, at least for my process, because I want to be able, first, to show people that what I'm doing is possible,
mm,
and it's not something out of the thin air, or that it went through tons of processes to actually be made. It's just a pencil, a pen, and paint, and an idea.
mm,
And so that is very intentional. I think processes are very important, and it also hooks you into understanding the artist a little bit more, and hooks you into seeing what else can they do,
mm,
what have they done, and yeah, then, and I just, for me, it's a little bit mesmerizing as well, just to see the process and see, oh, this is so cool, like how this person,
mm.
shaded something, right? And it's pretty nice. I think we should all have a little bit of a process video
Yeah.
of ourselves, like making stuff, and just, yeah, seeing. I think it also, like, having that on chain can also bring back those memories at one point, like 10 years from now, and seeing the process videos that I was doing at one
Mm,
point, and
mhm.
they're intact, and seeing the next ones, and saying, oh, I've grown as well as an artist, or I've been better. Sometimes I in that regard, I see myself painting in with pencils and pen, and then going into my iPad and saying, oh, this is cool, and like I can do better lines, or I'm starting to
Yeah.
notice the difference, but well, that's like in another lane of what we were talking about. But yeah, it is very intentional.
Nice. That's really cool as well because it's kind of like an archive of your progress. Is like how you've
Hmm.
like maybe improved your maybe some techniques or how you've just changed over time. So I think that is actually really, really cool to see. But yeah, I think the process things like is really fascinating. It's very evident as well in terms of how you present your work, especially say on Dripped. I mean, that's an easy example.
Hmm.
Because it kind of allows you to have that structure of the flow of like, your common, your rare, your legendary. You might break it down like you have with the initial outline, and then you add a dash of color, and then you've got the final piece. So you kind
Hmm.
of see that transition. Um, which is really interesting. It's one of those things as well and I remember this a lot from when I was studying art myself, as you always have those people who go to a gallery or they go to a museum or something to see a piece of art and they think, "Oh, I could have done that." But they don't know
Yeah,
the time and the effort and the thought process that goes behind the art.
totally.
So to me, it is definitely like such like an important thing that I think a lot of people overlook. So really cool to see.
Hmm. Yeah, and I sometimes have to think, I have to stop here and take a picture of this,
Yeah.
because I just keep on working, and the
Mm,
camera's over there. I also try to, like, to simplify as much as I can that recording process. Um, that's like, maybe that's, if somebody would be thinking about, like, recording their things, listening to this conversation, I would say, try to simplify as much as you can. Don't overdo it.
mm,
Try to get the easiest part, like everything as easy as possible, just because um sometimes we think too much about, is the video going to go well? Do I have to get so many angles? Do I have to do this, and then you forget about what you're actually making, right?
Mm,
But yeah, that was also off the topic, but it's just like one of the things that was popping in my head. Like sometimes we overcomplicate ourselves
mm.
too much, and when your idea is there, the faster you can actually make it without thinking about everything else, the best, like the better, not the I don't know, the flow is going to be a lot better, right? From that idea to your hand to the piece, right?
Yeah, well, I think that makes a lot of sense. And I think as well, into you kind of create a blocker for yourself if you overcomplicate it. And also people's attention spans as well. Is like if you could, say show too much of the process or something like that, if you want to kind of share it, as I think people's attention span as well these days are very limited.
Yeah.
Thanks to like TikTok and that those types of things. So, keeping it in a brief format, it also benefits for how people will absorb it as well, I think.
Mm,
So I know I did want to go back to your NFT collections.
sure.
So you kind of give me a little bit of background there. It's like how you got into crypto, the NFT space. Um, and well, as I was kind of going through your portfolio, yeah, so low fronts came up. Got the keepers and insomnia, which I mean, from a kind of, I think from they were kind of in the similar sort of similar styles, but it goes
Mhm.
back to what you were saying before, is that you create spaces out of things. Which now that you say that, actually that's really obvious. But I was just hoping you could kind of elaborate on that a little bit more and maybe share a little bit more about that, because I think it was Low Fronts, for example, was a collaboration
Yeah.
with someone, and it goes back a while. It's like 2 years ago now, right?
Yeah, the Holoplex days actually. It was one of the yeah, it was actually I think it was the first audiovisual project in Solana that at least a one-on-one piece, like a one-on-one thing.
Mm,
And most of the marketplaces actually had to adjust to us because of that, because Holoplex didn't have like the audio player, and yeah, we had to battle ourselves through all that.
wow,
Um,
that's when you know you're early.
that was very early. But then you see like Web 2 things, and you're like, that's why is this so complicated? Like it shouldn't be that
Yeah.
complicated. That's why it's kind of like gets frustrating. But yeah, it's been such a cool ride. Lofrance was that well, as still is. It's We're in a bit of a pause, I guess. But yeah, I think we it started out a lot into like coffee shops and that vibe with also at like anime stuff, and very inspired by Ghibli movies, and these low front vibes that you can have a coffee there, and you can have food in these places, and it's just like one universe outside of the normal things that you would see anywhere else. The music also like involved everything, and sorry, it's not involved, it's like envolver. It's in Spanish, it's wraps everything around,
Right.
so kind of like that feeling of, you have a space that you kind of like can join in and have a conversation in. That was kind of like the idea of these. And also, for example, like that a Coca-Cola can that was converted into a coffee shop. So we try to mix it up a little bit in a whole universe of places that would eventually, we could have a map of the places that were created. We're still like in that process of actually making that, but it's been a while, and we
Mhm.
had we had some halts over there with Subway that had a child, and that kind of like halted the process.
Makes
Um,
sense.
but yeah, that one is what started out with Solana, and then Insomnia. Insomnia was one of the other projects that I kept on going with, having a place in a coffee shop, in a coffee cup. So like just a building inside, and that feeling of you could be here, but it's the conversations that come up with having a coffee. So my idea was, if you were sitting down and having a coffee, like what kind of conversation would you have that would spark a place like that? So
Mm.
the first one was like at the beach, and like if you were talking to somebody and you were talking about how well it was on the weekend with the people, so that's kind of like what the idea was around insomnia, and those sold out, and I was super grateful because there are many collectors that I connect with still, like Joel Cassidy, which I was
Mhm.
with this weekend, was one of the collectors of two of them, I think. And that's where those connections come in to play,
Mm.
right? And now it was with him over the weekend and with the whole band, and it's amazing. Like that's what keeps me going in this space.
Mm. Nice.
And then the other one, which is oh, you mentioned it, I forgot the name. It's my collection.
The keepers.
The keepers. Uh yeah, the keepers. I've never been good at drawing faces. So but I've always thought about having characters at some point,
Mm.
and that one was an exploration as well. I
Yeah.
said I'm not good at characters, but I'm gonna learn, and I want to
Yeah.
learn, and I want to do these characters. And so if you pay attention to them, I think I have a sticker right here. So if you pay attention to them, none of them actually have a face. So see, like they're
Right.
all they're all like this. They're all invisible people,
Right.
and
Yeah. Yeah.
with superpowers. So that's kind of like my go around between having a
Nice.
character but not actually drawing their faces.
They're,
So yeah.
they're really cool. Like they're properly cool characters as well. And all of the collections as well, like you mentioned, are really really cool pieces. I recommend. And if anybody listens to this, I'll leave a link in the show notes, of course. As please check them out because they're really really cool collections. And yeah, the keepers especially. I think they make a really really. I was thinking because I'm actually looking for like a unique PFP at the moment. I was looking at them thinking,
Yeah.
yeah,
that's that's
I can rock one of
that's
them.
nice. That'd be
So
awesome. I think I don't have anybody, any of my collectors have PFE of my products. So yeah, it's pretty fun.
yeah, they're really cool, all of them. Yeah, I mean, you kind of mentioned before as well, like the importance of like the social element of it, and you've mentioned before about how Twitter, for example, social media has helped you open up avenues, connections, and relationships with people. You've already mentioned it. Collaborations are quite important to you. I was just wondering, from your perspective going forward, is there anybody who you'd like to see, like to collaborate with in the future?
Hmm.
Anybody you've got in mind that you'd like to collaborate with?
I haven't actually pinpointed anybody, just because um I still have like that feeling of worthiness to myself, and I think like I love what people do. I don't know if like people would be inclined to work with me. It's just like it's weird. Sorry, my dog is just like she needs attention.
Oh,
But it's like her time to eat, so
oh, bless her.
um yeah, so that's kind of like the feeling that I get. Like I would eventually love if people like would approach me instead of like me having to be like, hey, do you want to collaborate? Because it's just like
Yeah,
that sense of yeah, worthiness, I guess.
right.
But it's not that I don't value my work or the things that I do. It's just that I feel like, I don't know, there's so many amazing artists and maybe they don't have time to work with me,
Oh
or
man.
like this stuff like that, so my that's like kind of like my go-to. I have to put myself out there, just like I said, like I
Yeah,
cannot
yeah,
be a preacher of something and then just not do it right. But yeah, I mean, there's many other artists out there that I admire. I just bought one Trev Levis piece.
yep.
He's an amazing artist. I would definitely love to work with him. I mean, I love what Wedico does. I love
Hmm.
what well, Tiny Denise is also like that you already spoke with her. That
Yeah.
she's amazing as well.
Yeah.
You know, there's so many people out there that have amazing artwork, and I don't know where in that cog I would be, you know, working, like having something valuable for them. So like I don't know, it's just like one of the things. But I worked with Annalie, which was one of the duels,
Yeah.
and that was one of the most amazing experiences I've had here in crypto. Because like I said on one of my previous blogs, she's very energetic,
Mm.
and she loves what she does so much that seeing one of my line arts just being ravishly changed with her characters and her colors is it's a really good sensation, just
Mm.
because you know, you do one part and you have to let go of the other part, and seeing that work come to life with that same thing of control that we spoke
Mm.
about. It's pretty nice. Pretty nice to see the final product come to life with somebody that knows really well what she's doing. And it's pretty, you know, it's an interesting experience, definitely. So I would be very inclined to do collaborations in the future with anybody who wants to like shoot me a message. You know,
Yeah.
I'm generally like busy, but I always have time to do stuff. You know, I always
Nice.
put my time to do art.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say that you'll definitely be, you'll definitely have other collabs in the future as well. I'm sure people, and don't wait as well. If there's anybody you want to collaborate
Yeah.
with, just reach out to them, man. You remind me of me a little bit because I'm exactly the same as I'm just like, no, I don't want to bother them.
Yeah,
But really, it's like, yeah, just like you say, put yourself out there if you want to.
definitely.
But yeah, I'm sure you'll have other opportunities in the future anyway. Um, you've been a creator on Drip now for quite a while, right? It's been since I think it was September you started.
I don't even
Um,
remember. I think it's been like for me, it's been like 2 months, and I feel like it's probably a lot more than that. Yeah.
yeah, it looks to be around about September. But I think you've
Okay.
dropped like every week since then. You drop every Wednesday, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
every Wednesday.
And I just wanted to like get some insights. Like, how was it when you joined? What was that feeling like? It must have been a bit weird. And also, I'll bundle this in with another question: is
Mhm.
what would you like to see change or introduce to Drip or change on Drip as well? So, how was your
So,
experience initially, and then yeah,
um, I feel like at this point I'm kind of like lying to Vimu when I drop every time, just because the one thing that I was doing at the beginning was is very different from what I'm doing right now. But I know I'm not definitely, just that it's just fun to see the different how it changes, right? Because once you start dropping every week, there's a ton of things that come to actually putting that on your schedule and being accountable for that time, and like not um you know, like dropping, actually being there, right? So what I noticed is that I was putting a ton of effort. I was doing at the beginning, I was doing those physical pieces, then passing them to Procreate and making a digital piece, then passing them to Blender and making another digital piece animated. And it was taking too much from my energy. And I thought like, okay, this is very, very cool. I love it. I could keep doing this if I didn't have a full-time job. Um, so I started to simplify a little bit more, and I still love what I do. I think it is unique in the sense that it's all handmade and whatnot, but yeah, it's different from what I started. I would have loved to like continue doing more stuff like that. It's just that the amount of energy is too much,
yeah,
and I cannot keep up with doing that one, like three different, completely
yeah,
different
that's a
pieces
lot.
every week, right? It's
Yeah,
a lot. If I was doing these like once a month as well, like that could be a lot different. But yeah, you know, it's kind of like what happens. Um, so I've loved it. Like I love the idea that I actually have a ton of people that are watching what I'm doing. that is what changed my perspective into thinking, I could actually be educating people with tutorials, or I could be showing a little bit more of my background. Drip for me is marketing. Drip for me is putting myself out there, getting people to know me as an artist, or doing those tutorials that I still need to keep on doing. I don't want to like just have them
Mm.
halted over there.
That was also
Um,
good. That was another question I had that you've just answered as well. So
yeah,
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 I hope
yeah.
you do.
Yeah, definitely. I just like it's kind of like the themes that I have to put like organize.
Hmm.
And also because that again, it's like I have to do a piece, I have to edit the piece and the video and then do a tutorial. And that's time consuming, right?
Yeah.
So it kind of like depends on how I'm at that point in time with the amount of work that I have throughout the week. So yeah, kind of like that's where I go when going about trip. I think it's mostly marketing, as I said. People looking at the other side of the artist that is not just making art. Um, as I said, I have a full-time job. I also do some videos for people in Web3 or like in Twitter. So I have a ton in mind. I have lots to do on my day to day. Um, and I just need to organize a little bit more, um, slowly but surely. And I
Yeah.
think the opportunities are coming. And this year is going to be, I just feel that this year is going to be a lot different than the year before. And many people are going to, love the space a lot more. And just seeing that, you're seeing videos, a tutorial on Web 2 from Web 2 to actually be on Web 3. Those kind of things is what I believe can get more people interested
Mm,
in
yeah.
Solana, or more people interested in Drip, not just colorful artwork, or people doing weird stuff, or whatnot, whatever you want to think that people think about crypto, right?
Hmm.
Uh,
Hmm.
it's also like normal people doing normal stuff, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, that's kind of like where I go whenever I think about Drip. What could I think what do I think that could change was the
Well,
question,
yeah.
or like
So what would you like to see? So say in a year's time, obviously you're still on drip, but
Mhm.
in that time, what would you like to see introduced to the platform?
Hmm. It's a hard question because I think it's very complete,
Yeah.
and the things that uh well the whole Drip team are making, and that you see in the channels that are being created, kind of like goes with what people are always asking, like for example the creator studio, looking at things that might not be on chain, for example having like this subscribe to actually view the content. That was one of the things that I told people, that could be so cool to have. Like you can actually see these videos if you're subscribed or if you donate so much, right? Um, just because I feel that that could give a lot more traction to actually having people to subscribe to your channel and not just like see the content there.
Mm, okay. So
Um,
it's like hidden until you're kind of
yeah,
right. Got you.
it doesn't have to be like everything,
Hmm.
but for example, a rare piece, you
Mm,
can only have see it if you have it or if you're
right.
subscribed, right? That could be something really nice to see. Also, like probably a Web 2 integration in terms of that social part that you can drop those videos and not actually be on chain. That could be something very cool. I think that's also in the plans. Not really sure. But I don't know if that was understood, like having a sector that is not Web3 related, that you can go in just because
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
subscribed and see that content, right? That could
Yeah.
be really fun to have as well.
Definitely. I think it makes a lot of sense to your point before is bringing value to Web2 folks
Yeah.
as well, through different means. I mean, like your video tutorials and that kind of thing are very relatable, and it can be different content. It doesn't necessarily have to be art, I suppose. Um, but yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. I only
Hmm.
have one last question for you,
Sure.
and it's a big one. Who is your favorite creator on Drip at the moment?
On drip,
Mm.
I don't have a favorite, but
Okay.
I have favorite um what I want to say, it's not that I don't have a favorite because I have many favorites.
Yeah.
That's like the reason. I've started to learn more about Moldy, for example, Moldy that does these like things on texture on clothing.
Mhm.
I don't know if you've seen his work.
Yeah.
Um, but I think that's amazing. And I've seen him do process videos as well, which is for me, it's like one of those things that I kind of feel like was inspired because of what I'm doing, but I'm not sure. I hope it was, you know. Um, but seeing what he's doing is very nice. Also knowing that he does music and he's on Spotify, you know, all that kind of stuff. It's
Hmm.
kind of like what gets me into learning more about that artist. I also already mentioned Wedico. I've
Yeah.
mentioned Tiny Denise. I know Stoic or I don't know if she's docs or not here. So or Stoic. I don't know, man.
Oh, you mentioned a few. That's
Yeah,
that's good
there's
enough. Don't
so
worry.
many.
I know. Yeah, it's hard to
um,
keep track of as well because I mean you could mention a few and then forget a load of others as well. So
Yeah, no, and I know also like what you're doing, that like all this, like if I don't know if this is going to be goals to go on drip or not, but this is I think it's amazing. You should. I mean, you should grab these things, pass it through Handbrake, which is one of the apps that lowers the quality, the size of um files, and just throw it into drip as a comment, you know, or on parts, right? It could be part of uh yeah, part of a new collection or something. So why shouldn't this be on chain as well?
that's yeah. I'd never really thought about it, but actually, like Vibo did actually make a joke about it. I hadn't even thought about it until he did, and I was like, oh,
I mean, why
yeah,
not? You know, I always think what's the worst that can happen, right?
it's true. It's
You're
true.
gonna get more people to have your stuff and know about you, right?
Oh, and you guys, more importantly, really. But yeah, yeah. Hopefully that'll be pretty insane, to be honest, if that was to happen.
Do it,
Uh,
man.
But yeah, wait for a few episodes, get the ball rolling, and see if it's
Don't even think
successful.
about it. Just go and do it. Don't even think about it.
See,
You don't.
good advice once again.
There's no one that's going to like think, oh, he should have waited, he should have waited
Mm,
a little bit more to have more pieces. Like, who cares? You're accountable for your own pieces. So
true.
the other people don't matter. At the end of the day, the more content that you have out there about yourself is gonna push you a little bit further to the noise, and especially now that you're putting yourself out there, which is one of the things that I've always advocate about,
Mm,
is making you have better connections and people actually know the real you, not
yeah,
the PFP, right?
it's huge. It's huge. It's I think we get so used to the digital images of apes and all
Totally.
that, like frogs and
More, we need more humans. That's the thing. At
yeah,
the end of the day, people, if I see it on YouTube a lot, like people are going back, even on Twitter, I mean on TikTok or on Instagram, people are going back to recording themselves and recording
yeah,
vlogs and their day-to-day life, have the the plates that I do for a billionaire on somewhere, what's my day like from that? There's a guy who's famous for that,
mhm,
or just like his day-to-day life in the office, right? It's normal human beings connecting with other normal
yeah,
human beings. That's what we need. That's what we're here for. It's connections. It's social. It's social. It's actually social, right?
yeah.
Sorry,
No,
I rented out.
no,
That's why.
I love how passionate you are about it. I completely agree as well. So it's definitely a good thing. But yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on, like total pleasure. And it's been really nice meeting you. So thank you so much for spending time with me. It's been really nice hearing more about you and your background and also your work as well. And hopefully everybody who listened will make sure to, go check out is it SimplyEto or SimplyEto?
Simply I say eto, but
Eto.
it's eto or whatever. It's
Okay.
at the end of the day, it's however. So
Those
most people call me Simply, but I'm weirded out just because they're like not reading reading SimplyEto. It's just Eto. Yeah. So, but yeah, it's all
so
good.
yeah, go check out SimplyEto. My accent doesn't let me say it any
It's
other way,
okay, man. Don't
unfortunately.
worry.
Yeah, so you can obviously find them on many different sites. I know you've got like a ton of links to your sites as well, so I'll link
Yeah.
them below. And make sure you're subscribed on the drip if you're not already. And if you aren't already following them on Twitter as well, is just look out for the Green Bunny guide.
Yes.
And yeah, I'll again leave a link in the show notes. But yeah, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been an absolute pleasure.
No, thank you, Florissant. I appreciate the time, and I appreciate yeah, everybody listening to this. I know we extended a little bit on time, but yeah, just like my final thoughts, whatever you want to do, just go out there, do it, and enjoy it.
This week we have SimplyEto joining, and actually started getting the podcast started. One of the most diverse creators I've come across in the Dripik. Let's just keep going. Fuck. Okay.